Okay, great. All right, let's start. Hi, my name is Steven Snyder, and I am here with a friend of mine, Luanne. We met in a class at Harvard Extension, and it's been really cool to learn from Luanne because right away from the start of class, I realized she was in sustainable finance, and that's where my career is tending towards. So it's been really cool to learn from her and what is happening in East Asia, in her neck of the woods. And yeah, Luanne is a great speaker. She's presented at a couple of my events before, and I really wanted her to talk to you guys today about leadership because she's doing great work in her field and bringing people together and driving sustainability forward. So let me not steal the spotlight too much here, Luanne, and let you tell your own story. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I live in a country called Malaysia. That's in Southeast Asia, kind of between Singapore and Thailand, just in case. And I work at a bank called CIMB. We are a regional bank and we operate across the ASEAN markets. So I haven't always been in sustainability. I just took on this role maybe about 2 years ago. So, and I basically created the role, created the portfolio, and then I put my hand up and said, "Hey, I want to do this job." Um, so my background, I am a manufacturing engineer by training, and I was in the UK for that. And I've been working in banking and consulting more or less all my career, and typically in kind of transformation, strategy, and things like that, driving execution and creating change in the organization. Now, this job kind of presented itself when we were reviewing our strategy. We had realized that an emerging theme was sustainability, and basically we knew nothing about it. In my part of the world, for most, I wouldn't say all companies, but for many, many companies, sustainability is CSR, meaning philanthropy, donations, community work, which, what we realized is, hey, that's not what it's about. And so when the more we looked and the more we understood what this was all about, we realized that it was such an important topic, and we managed to get it embedded into our core strategy. So sustainability is now a key part of our strategy and embedded into the business. So that's kind of how I got into this role.
Really cool. And I mean, like, what kind of motivated you to put your hand up? Like, why were you willing to, you helped to create it, you said, but like, why take on that risk of leading and managing something you knew very little about?
Oh, actually, I knew nothing about, or very, very, very little. A couple of things, I guess. I'd always been kind of semi-interested in, environmental things, and I always kind of flirted with the idea of maybe joining an NGO one day, and this presented itself. And at that point in time, because I'd been doing transformation for quite a number of years, I was also looking for an area of specialization. And when this came up, then I decided to put my hand up. So it was a risk, but the good thing in my part of the world is that there is no expertise, or very, very little, in sustainable finance. So yeah, they couldn't find anyone else, so I applied. And yeah, but it's been good. I've learned so much, and actually that's kind of part of the reason why I was why I'm doing the Harvard Extension Masters, because I'd gotten the job and I didn't know anything. So, but it's challenging to learn and deliver at the same time. But what I realized really quickly was that in the sphere of sustainability, most professionals would be very, very open to help and to advise, especially if you're just starting. So yeah, and I built those peer networks, or it's almost mentor networks, because these guys are super senior, and they've been really, really helpful in kind of springboarding us. And the other thing we did was to join the UN Environment Program, Principles for Responsible Banking. So we were one of the 30 drafting members of the principles. And at that time, we didn't know anything, but we learned through that process. So that was great.
Yeah, learning by doing. That's a common theme I'm seeing among many of our leaders in this, especially because a lot of them are young like us. Like, we're willing to put ourselves out there and get these skills on the job. And it's great that you have mentors and people within the network to help you with that. Where do you see this going now? Like, what are you looking forward to in this space?
Oh, wow.
Personally, I guess.
Well, so part of the reason I put my hand up was because I'm driven by tackling really difficult challenges. And this is a really difficult challenge. And my background has also been about, changing mindsets, changing ways of working, and how we do business. So this actually fit right in. So I've been doing this actually since the maybe beginning of 2019, so coming up to 2 years. And we've been, rolling out policies, putting in place foundational elements like the governance for sustainability and climate risks, and rolling them out across all the countries, which is a challenge because every country has different regulations, policies, etc. And now we are getting into kind of the really, really challenging bits of the rollouts, where we're now putting down policies which could impact our short-term profitability. And this is, I think, it's a huge challenge. And what I've kind of learned from that is the most direct route is not always the most efficient, and actually often leads to failure. So just as an example, I recently took a policy for a particular sector to a committee for discussion. And in this case, the business goals are in direct conflict with sustainability goals, because it could mean turning down some clients. And there were lots and lots of objections. And it also, I think it was because in a committee and being a business person, you have to be seen to protect your turf. So even though they understood why we were doing it, but they knew that they would get chastised, let's say, if they said, hey, yeah, I know this may impact us a little bit on the short term, or we have to maybe work a little bit harder on other areas. But actually, I agree with this. So they would just get completely be not popular with their colleagues, right? So then what we started doing was we started going to them one-on-one and really talking through the details, and going through exactly what they were concerned about, what were the nuances, the specifics. And mind you, we had already done this with the teams, but you have to do it again with the leaders. So that has worked quite well. But I think the other thing is that integrity and transparency in your negotiations, because these are negotiations. That's really key. So we had one stakeholder from the business who was really, she's known to be challenging, right? And when we were rolling out the initial policy, we really took the time to kind of walk through and really on a point by point by point hours and hours of conversation, change one word here, you know, and during the meetings, the committee meetings, I always took care to always bring up her point of view. So not what I wanted, but what the objections were. And in the meetings where she was in, you know, I actively called her up and said, hey, you know, can you, what do you think? And then she'd bring up her objection, which we had already actually rehearsed because we'd spoken previously. And any little detail socialized. And, you know, after a while, she kind of realized that, okay, I wasn't actually trying to sneak anything through. I wasn't actually trying to, you know, play her out. And after a number of months of working together, we kind of built this trust and rapport. And the great thing is that now she's actually one of the biggest champions of sustainability within the business unit. Yeah, a great win. So she goes and speaks at conferences and things like that, which is brilliant.
Right. That's so cool of a story to hear how, you know, you helped her to transition from a roadblock to being a major supporter, a huge stakeholder in your corner for this. And it really struck me at the beginning to hear how you were very strategic in your negotiations of meeting with them one-on-one so that you could remove all of that like groupthink and any ego or any like politics that might be happening within a group. And you addressed it one-on-one, figured out what those issues are, so that when you come together, you're more cohesive. Was that challenging? Was it, you know, you probably had to put in lots of hours, especially for this one stakeholder, you said.
Lots of hours, yes, but, you know, I mean, everything that I've kind of done in my career has always been almost like an experiment. I always put up my hand for the most difficult things because it drives me crazy. I love doing difficult things. But the downside of that is you make a lot of mistakes. And so for example, when I first joined CIMB, you know, I was young and naive. I came to meetings, I spoke my mind to senior leaders and, you know, young female, because that definitely adds to the equation. And oh my goodness, I made so many enemies. And it took me, well, maybe a year or two to kind of just recover from that. So yeah, but you learn, and you know, one of the so 1 to 2 years recovery, but there was this one person who over the last number of years has been my biggest kind of detractor. And but I must say, this person, which also happens to be a she, was also my biggest source of learning. And from kind of dealing with her, I kind of learned how to empathize and try to understand things from her point of view. So, look, whenever somebody says something, right? You don't necessarily, unless you have a lot of trust in that person, you don't necessarily take that at face value. You got to think about, you know, why is this person saying this? Where are they coming from? You know, why and what do they want actually, right, in relation to you? And also, what do they fear in relation to you? And once you kind of understand all of that, you're then able to, you know, find, let's say, areas of alignment, or at least areas where you don't fight, where you're not in conflict, as well as areas of trade-off. So I will give you this if you give me that, and then in that way, you know, get what you need done. And you know, as we always said, you know, as you mentioned, this takes time. It takes a lot of time. Yeah, so
That's really interesting. I like how you put it of this person who was challenging, but also an opportunity for you to learn. Um, and it's great to have those type of people in your life who can challenge you to motivate you. And I think it's important to not focus on the negative, to focus on like what are the positives we can take away from this relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what is really important is that you don't get too emotional
Hmm.
about what happens at work. Um, so what I've learned is, because I'm quite kind of compartmentalized in my brain. So this is work. I'm trying to get this done. I may not like how you behave at work, but as a person, you're actually a decent human being. But at work, you may have different interests, or you've got bosses who are telling you to do something else. So it's important to kind of um, keep that separate, and try not to get too affected just because somebody is not agreeing with you at work about something doesn't mean that they don't like you. It doesn't.
Hmm.
It just means that they've got a different point of view. And
Hmm.
it means that, maybe they're, so for example, classic example, if you're a business unit and you're a risk function, right? So the risk function always says, oh, we can't do this, or because of this risk. And it's a healthy tension, right? But the important thing is to keep that healthy. Um, and the key to that is to not kind of drag emotions uh,
Mm.
into the whole equation. Although I must say, a balance is needed, because if you're too emotionally detached, you're
Right.
just disassociated, and you don't care. Whereas if you're too emotionally attached, every little setback would be make you end up in tears, right? I mean,
Mm.
just one recent example. So we've been under attack by an NGO for the usual things, because banks finance industries that may not necessarily be the most green, and the attacks were really nasty. They were saying things like, ooh, we are ignoring the regulators, and things like that. And they were completely twisting what we had said. And, people were messaging and people were asking, the board got up in arms. Then, one of my team members actually asked me, are you okay? Are you emotional? Are you affected by this? And then I thought, yeah, actually, you know what? I mean, it's not nice, but you know what? These NGOs do serve a purpose.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right? They put pressure on companies, on, I don't know, boards of directors to do something which actually, at the end of the day, I personally agree with, right? I may not always agree with their methods. It's really quite nasty. But at the end of the day, they're doing their jobs. I don't believe they are evil people. And but, we're at the end of the day, we're all trying to kind of move towards the same goal. So yeah, but if were a super emotional person, and I think people also who are interested in sustainability tend to be maybe a little bit more emotional, because they do it for the love and for the passion, which I do too. But you just gotta learn to kind of dissociate that from the work that you're doing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you in this sense that you're having to negotiate and meet people where they are, and sometimes their emotional level doesn't meet with yours, and you have to be honest and transparent of like what those things are. So I can totally see. Luanne, thank you so much for explaining these few stories to us. It's clear that you are really trying to push your industry to be better, and I'm very happy that you're within that with inside making those changes. So that's really cool. We need to finish up, but please, are there any words of encouragement that you would want to leave our leaders with?
Yeah, I mean, like, sustainability is hard, right? So if you think you're gonna come into a sustainability job and do nice mushy things and everyone cheering you along. That if you're really pushing the envelope and making real hard needed change, that's not going to happen
Mm.
because you're challenging the status quo, you're challenging, what people do, what people believe in mindsets. So it's difficult, and you're forever navigating conflicting interests. People will never be 100% happy. Even if one person is happy, the other won't be. So you just need to be kind of prepared for that. But I guess in the end, just keep in mind that what your end goal is. That's really important.
Yeah, that's some good encouragement to keep people aware of the challenges that they'll have to face. Luanne, thank you so much for having this conversation with us.
You are very welcome. I had fun.
All right, everyone, I hope you enjoy the rest of the program, and we'll see you again soon. Okay, perfect. So they'll cut it there. What I've been doing with a few of the speakers is if they want to like give some encouragement for people to attend the program, sort of like a little liner, like a little soundbite.
To attend the program? Sure.
Yeah, to attend the program.
Okay.
So like, would you be interested in saying like one sentence or two sentences about like why you think people should attend this?
Why should people attend this?
Yeah. So like why do you think leadership development is important?
Okay. Attend, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me think about that.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Cool. So we can go from whenever you're ready.
Okay. Cool. So everyone, I'd like to encourage you to join this program. It's really good to network and to learn from others, but also to understand what are some of the challenges and as well as upsides in sustainable careers.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Luanne. Really appreciate you participating in the program and encouraging people to attend.
Okay. You're very welcome.
Great. Thank you very much, Luanne. I hope you have a good night.
Yeah, let me know how the program goes.
Yeah, and as soon as we get this loaded, I'll let you know so you can see it, and we'll do a little promotion and tag you, and I think it's great. Yeah.
Will there be a link or something? I can put it on my social media with your with your ads.
Yeah. We'll get that up.
Okay. Excellent.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have
really
a good night.
Nice.
Yeah, good to catch up with you too. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. See you. Bye.